and 12 pounds of clover. Of course, we've seen representatives of this kind of mix, but one thing I did want to point out, the thing we're noticing with these small grains, and particularly in the mix as we let them mature, our peas and our vetches are doing a very good job of growing up them and using them as trellises to keep them from matting down on the ground. Here's an excellent example. You can see these peas just growing up right up those rye stems. And actually, I think if we did some digging through the research, we'd find that should be actually increasing our yield, because that's helping the growth of those peas. Okay, now in the background here, we're standing in front of Purple Bounty vetch. We planted 29 pounds of this per acre, and of course we planted it as a monoculture. And just as I referenced a little bit earlier, this does not have small grain, and the first thing that I notice is this stuff is starting to go down as it's maturing. Of course, from a weed control standpoint, that has some advantages. From planting the corn and insect pressures we're not sure about, but this gives you a look at this Purple Bounty. The other thing I'll point out about Purple Bounty is it is flowering, and it's kind of finishing up its flowering, so we have certainly at the tail end of its maximum nitrogen production, and it should be, in terms of common hairy vetch, it should actually be producing the bulk of its nitrogen a little bit earlier, which allows us some advantages when we think about feed quality of these mixes and ultimately the impact it's going to have on the following corn crop. So just a good look at Purple Bounty vetch. Again, this is on Mike Phillips's list of favorites. Now we're back to plot 16. This happens to be a mixture of ryegrass. We planted 29 pounds. So if you remember the monoculture ryegrass back earlier in this tour, you can see that the ryegrass is starting to fall over and mat down. This is the same rate of ryegrass, but we've added in 18 pounds of winter peas and 20 pounds of crimson clover. And so again, you can see the purple flowers from the crimson clover, and see the winter peas out through the mix here. Of course, all this is starting to lay down because of the influence of the ryegrass, but I guess the one point I wanted to raise here as you look out through this plot, ryegrass is pretty aggressive. I'm actually, as an agronomist, surprised to see that ratio of mix carry through, and here's one of these mixes that if you'd asked me what this was going to look like last fall, I would have told you you're wasting your time planting the crimson and the peas because the ryegrass is just going to choke it out. But in fact, you see here, that's not the case. Actually, if we went back and did a ratio, I'm pretty impressed with how much growth is here. Okay, now we're standing in front of just a monoculture of crimson clover. This had 30 pounds to the acre planted last fall, and of course I think we've got nice coverage, but of course we don't have certainly the height that we see in some of these other plots where it's used as a mixture, but this is a good look at crimson clover by itself. Behind me here you see a plot with 1 bushel of triticale and 1 bushel of rye. Of course, again, it jumps out at you clearly that the rye is the tallest plant there. Again, back to our old school way of thinking about cover crops, we've always said, well, that rye will grow on concrete and it's the most aggressive plant out there. But I've been surprised when I look in this mix. Again, as you fold it back, you can see that triticale is mixed pretty uniformly through there. So here's a mix using a 2 bushel total rate, where we've made half of it triticale and half of it rye. And again, we've got a lot more leaf surface mixed back in this mixture. We're standing in front of, here behind me, a plot of 1.75 bushels of triticale and 10 pounds of Austrian winter peas. Of course, we've reviewed this influence in previous treatments, but the one thing I wanted to stop and point out again, you can see this pea growing right on up that triticale plant, using it as a support, and the peas are more aligned with the total height of this mixture, or of this triticale that's in this mix. Okay, our last mix that we want to show you today is triticale, 50 pounds to the acre, and 15 pounds of purple bounty vetch. And again, you can see this trellising effect. It's a nice mixture. That vetch is growing very well mixed in with this triticale, and this is a nice looking mix as well. I'll have to say this is on Mike Phillips's list of favorites. This woolly pod is flowering and has been flowering, so we know it's maximizing its nitrogen production. So if we're killing this or harvesting it even anytime in the middle part of May, and then following that with corn or beans, we've got a nice successive cropping system here, and our experience has been telling us in these plots for the past 3 years that anytime we put as much as 10 pounds of vetch in the mix, we're going to have a positive influence on the nitrogen production or the final yield of the next crop. All right, we're going to take one last broad view of the plot. As I said, our goal here is to plant corn through these plots, and then we're going to follow through the season with soil nitrate testing, and then to final yield. And we'll see you in the fall when we look at the corn that's following these crops. Pounds of vetch. Look at that. Oh my golly.
Now this is woolly pod vetch.
That is